Hello, David. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hi, thank you.
So maybe if we just start with a short introduction, if you tell us maybe a bit more about who you are and obviously Charterhouse, but more specifically how the indirect procurement function fits in.
Yes, certainly. My name's David Fincham. I've been working in procurement really for all of my life, really for the best part of 20 years now. But more recently I've been working for Charterhouse. Originally came into the organisation to head up the commercial function, which in basic terms is procurement in the print world, if you like. But my role over the 5 years since I've been here has evolved into more of a business development role. And that's really focusing on my procurement background, looking at marketing services production. So it's more than just print. It's looking at what else falls into that arena and focusing on Charterhouse's core skills and abilities really and developing that. So I spend a lot of my time talking to procurement professionals about what sort of things and challenges they have within their business and trying to develop that as a service offering that Charterhouse can provide. And that's really what I've been doing now for the last 2 or 3 years, focusing on that and working with those procurement people to deliver that through their own organisations.
It's interesting actually that you're business development rather than say head of procurement, and I think that's very much a clear sign of the way in which the procurement function is now seen and the way it is continuing to develop. And how much of an influence then do you have from a procurement standpoint on the direction of the business?
I think that it's the great thing about Charterhouse is when I came into the organisation, I guess some people would see it in the procurement world as going from one side of the fence to the other. So going from a procurement in a large organisation for Renault, where I was previously, over to the other side, if you like, for a small organisation that was selling into those procurement professionals. But the great thing that I felt about Charterhouse as an organisation was actually they wanted someone to come in as an outsourced business to look at the procurement that they have within their own organisation. So everything that we do in terms of outsourcing to our supply chain and professionalising that, but also how we develop that into a sales proposition back to our the procurement world, if you like, and actually working with them a lot more in a structured way, because we felt that sort of over the sort of 4 or 5 years since I've been here, that procurement has become more and more prominent, which I think is a very, very good sign for the procurement industry, but it's also a very good sign for our business and the level of importance it has within our organisation.
So you were talking to me before we started saying that there's a new model that you're now broaching into. Could you maybe tell us a bit more about that?
Certainly, yes. I mean, when I was in procurement working for Renault, there was a new kind of like evolved services around marketing that everyone termed decoupling. And traditionally within marketing spend, which is becoming more and more prominent over the last 5 to 10 years, purchasing people were starting to get involved in it, but very, very sort of fragmented in regards to the relationships that they had and also with the supply chain, but also with the marketing teams. And to this day, that still is the case, where you have different levels of maturity within the procurement function, different levels of maturity within the supply chain, and different levels of maturity in regards to agencies that traditionally supply these services. So really what we're trying to do here at Charterhouse is go to procurement people and offer them a slightly different model that maybe will help them in achieving their objectives, whilst also maintaining the key principles of marketing and what that's for in terms of getting the best return on investment. So that's not just savings, that's about, you know, brand control and consistency across all of the products that they're supplying. So for us, we're really trying to focus on that as a business and how we can actually get involved in it, and that's really where this role has kind of evolved over the last 2 or 3 years.
So how have you seen, I mean, what have been the key challenges then to getting that model underway and getting people on board with it and getting particularly upper level, senior level management?
I think the key challenge is that traditionally within our sector, people will see us as a print company first and foremost, which is where our heritage is. But so getting the message across in terms of the fact that we can provide more than just print and marketing services that we have now. That's the challenge for our business, is how we market that and how we develop that. But in terms of getting the involvement with regards to procurement professionals, that again is very different. ProcureCon is one of the environments that we use to highlight the services that we offer, to talk to high-level procurement people in the right environment about the sort of things that we're offering and the sort of services that we can add value back to their businesses. So hopefully they then get the feeling that they're buying into something new, they can either then take that on themselves or pass that information on to the relevant category lead within their own function.
So on that note, what categories generally do you tend to work in?
As I said, marketing services kind of encompasses quite a lot. So the main area for us would be print production, online digital, permanent points of sale, promotional merchandising, pre-press production. So all things that may not mean a lot to yourself, but to the marketing procurement professional, they are things that they'll come across on their desk on a daily basis. And across all of those areas, there's a lot of challenges that they have. But essentially, we are a production business. So we have the model that we have developed is allowing procurement and marketing to retain the relationships with the agencies, which are absolutely key in relation to their return on investment, creativity, strategy, and everything that sits behind that, whilst actually giving procurement the leverage on the production spend, which is quite significant within marketing, to actually really deliver savings, get the consistency on the brand, and actually get some really good messages back to marketing and themselves in regards to saving and that sort of brand control, which is where some of the conflicts exist between marketing and procurement.
So I take it then that you must also be involved in the analytics side to some degree to show how the value of what you're doing and the savings you're making as someone who's leading the procurement, but also using it to develop business further.
Yes, I think so. And I think that analytics work in different ways, depending on the different organisations' level of maturity. I think that analytics can be, for a procurement person, just creating visibility of the spend that they have as a business, which many organisations don't, because what they're doing is they're procuring it from their agencies. The agencies don't really offer that much in regards to visibility, and therefore the structured approach to that is very is weakened somewhat. Whereas what we're doing is we're actually providing them with the tools and the information, and to then analyse their spend and actually analyse where they're procuring it, if it's being done in the right way, and looking at different ways in which they can create greater efficiencies. So there's that level of analytics right the way through to where we work with some of our organisations where we're actually looking at return on investment based on the marketing collateral that they're producing. And again, that's quite sophisticated in terms of how that works. But again, by creating that visibility, having access to the right people in terms of agencies and marketing stakeholders, we are actually able to deliver that back to our clients.
So then what would you say are your goals for the next year then across 2012 and I suppose now into a reasonable part of 2013?
I think our main goals as a business is to actually establish ourselves as a full service marketing services business. And what I mean by that is it's getting away from the stereotypical print where we tend to be established and moving more into how we can actually add value to our existing clients, but also to prospective clients around some of the services that we are able to provide. And I think for me, that is the core objective for the next 12 months is actually getting that across. But in addition, it's actually making sure that procurement people understand what the opportunities are for them and their organisations by looking at maybe a slightly different model to the ones that they've had previously.
So how has then, if you can go into any kind of detail at all, how has that changed from a traditional print media company to this huge full service organisation affected your procurement strategy?
I guess the procurement strategy for our business is the core thing is that we have we outsource, so we provide people in essence, and the people are procuring those services on behalf of our clients purely in the production area. And the main difference is actually the training of the staff themselves. So the mindset of our traditional staffing has been print, how does that work? Whereas now we're actually asking them to procure digital services, promotional merchandising, permanent point of sale, all of which have a very different supply chain, different things that they need to consider. And that really has been the key challenge for our business and will be for the upcoming sort of 12 to 18 months.
So, of course, you are, as you said, going to be at ProcureCon Indirect this year. Perhaps if you could just tell us a little bit about what you're going to be speaking about and if there's anything else you're hoping to gain from the event.
In terms of what I'm going to be talking about, I'm very much going to be talking about this new model. So it's called the Marketing Maturity Matrix, and it's very much highlighting that and bringing that to the event. So that will be what I'm focusing on in regards to talking to procurement professionals, hopefully all of whom procure this type of service, and really trying to give them a snapshot of the benefits of this, and then kind of really starting to go from that in terms of talking to people outside of it, because that really, for me, with ProcureCon, standing up and talking to people and presenting to them this model is one thing, but then having the chance to talk to them in an open forum, again on a one-to-one basis, is something that we'll be looking to get out of the event.
Well, David, thank you very much for taking some time to speak to us today. It's been genuinely fascinating. If people do want to find out more before they get to ProcureCon Indirect, where can they go?
They can visit our website, Charterhouse, which is www.charterhouseproduction.com.
Fantastic. And if you do want to find out more about ProcureCon Indirect and, of course, see more interviews just like this, you can visit procurecon-indirect.com.